What's going on, everybody? We are back. You're adjacent theater kids. My name is Phoenix. I'm, of course,
And I'm
with
Lazuli.
Lazuli. How have you been, man?
I have been pushing through it, but I'm feeling a little chilly, a little cold. It's December and everything, I'm feeling, because it's December, feeling like I'm in a little bit of a Russian mood.
Oh,
How
seriously?
about you? Yeah. Rushing
Well,
around and everything. I'm all rushed out because of rushing through all my exams and finals and stuff. But yeah, I'm in a Russian mood.
you in a Russian mood? I feel like a little redheaded stepchild at this point, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So that's where we're at.
That's our first musical for today, Anastasia.
Someone holds me safe and warm. Horses prance through a silver storm. Figures dancing gracefully across my memory.
Woo! And of course, we are talking Anastasia and Annie today. Two very well, I don't know if they're very big. I know one is very, very big. One is,
One's very big.
yeah, one's very big, and the other one was pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty popular.
Yeah,
Surprisingly, I didn't know about it, but it's pretty popular.
yeah. So let's kick off with Anastasia. What do you know about this musical?
Well, I have listened to it. We passed Anastasia on the original list. So I know it, but prior to that, I knew nothing about the musical. And on top of that, this is not related because it's not based off of the Disney movie at all. It's much more it follows the history a lot more closely as opposed to the Disney adaptation. But I also haven't seen the Disney adaptation of Anastasia.
So we're in the
So I
same
went
boat
into
then.
it blind. I just knew it was a Russian musical.
Yeah, we're in the same boat there. I also did have not seen the Disney version, which I will say though, after seeing this, I really want to. Yeah, because this
It's a lot more
I know it's a lot.
magical.
Yeah, it's a lot
A lot more
different than this.
fantastical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm interested to see the differences. But this I thought was very very and I would argue to say pretty darn good. Um,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so like we've gone through Anastasia is our sixth Broadway musical that we've discussed. Right now, it would be my number one
Yeah.
of the
I
ones that we've
agree.
discussed so
Same.
far. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm really a big fan of this one. You have music and lyrics by Lynn Ahrens and Stephen Flaherty, book by Terrence McNally. It is semi based on the '97 animated film, but the musical adapts the urban legend of the Grand Duchess Anastasia I'm not gonna get this right. Nikolaevna, Nikolaevna of
Nikolovit. Nikolovit.
her Nickelodeon. Yeah,
Russian. Yeah, Nickelodeon. Nikolovit. Oh boy. Oh boy.
we're gonna call
Oh
her.
boy, the speech impediment's coming out.
We're gonna
The
call her
Grand Duchess Anastasia.
Anastasia. We'll leave it at that. Who is rumored to have escaped and survived the execution of her family. Many years an amnesiac young woman named Anya hopes to find some trace of her past by siding with two con men who wish to take advantage of her resemblance to Anastasia by presenting Anya to the Grand Duchess's paternal grandmother, the Dowager Empress Maria Dowager Empress Maria. So
Yep.
yeah,
She's
so
all the way in
this
France.
yeah, so we got a little bit of French, a little bit of Russian going on here, and my English tongue is unprepared. So
Correct. Yeah, no, this is a really fun musical. I like how it really sticks to the times here and everything. And it contrasts very heavily to the other Russian musical that's on our list that we'll see in the G's with great comment because that one very Russian. There's like a little bit of French in there, but that's because it's further back. So like they weren't as obsessed with the French back then as they were during 20th century Russia. They
Right.
loved the French and everything back then. So they all knew French and Russian and everything. And I think I don't know the true history behind this as much of a history nerd that I like to call myself. No, I don't know the history to confidently enough to say whether or not this is an accurate portrayal of the times and everything. But I believe it is. I mean, it gets the whole, communist like
Yeah.
government before, it fell into the Soviet Union pretty well. During, the songs like Rumor in St. Petersburg and all that fun jazz.
Right. I will also say, like, so far in our journey through these musicals, you know, 21 Jump Street and 36 Questions are very different types of musicals. Adam's
Mhm.
Family and Aladdin are both sort of, kind of, our typical musical, but Anastasia was like the first one that is really like, here's your standard musical. Like, here's your standard
Yeah.
musical and and enjoy. And I was like,
Yeah.
finally, I was like, thank God. Because I'm like, no
Standard
offense to the,
modern musical, yeah.
yeah, like, no offense to the other ones. They're all great in their own way, but it felt really good to finally just get that, the style that I'm used to when
Yeah,
it comes to
yeah.
musicals. Yeah. So like we get a prologue, which is great. Then you
Ugh.
have the big, I guess you could call it a dance number, but it's like the one that lets you know all the players, right?
Yeah,
Which is
yeah.
something, yeah, which is something I'm like, yes, that's how you do it. You introduce all your players with this big musical number. Then you get your soft ballad, which is great, and then we're off
Mhm.
into the story. So I dug that, and just being able to get the traditional type of musical back, I was like, thank goodness. Like, it was
Oh
something that I was
yeah.
desperately missing.
Mm-hmm. And the composition behind this musical is really amazing. Like, I feel that it blends between the two, like, very drastically different styles of music wonderfully and everything. And you get such amazing songs like Once Upon a December. It's such an amazing, but, like, it's such a simple ballad, but it's beautiful and everything. And then there's, like, moments, like, from top of my head as I'm looking through the list, like the album, like
Right.
still slash the Neva Flows reprise. It's such a tense moment, and the music really accentuates it and everything of like, oh my god, she might fucking die. Oh my god, like she
Yeah.
might die, and it's great. It's great. The story's great. Music's great. Everything about this musical is awesome. I don't know how I missed this because I was obsessed with Gary Comet this same year. So I don't know how I missed the other Russian musical in the process.
Right.
But awesome. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I think what I loved too is we're seeing a story like, okay, so we just did Aladdin. You know the story of Aladdin, right? There's no,
Right.
like, even if you weren't a Disney kid, you know the story of Aladdin. Um Anastasia, while it was also a Disney movie, they changed so much of it that it's almost practically a new story. Almost.
Oh,
Like
definitely. Like there's no Rasputin here. Rasputin?
yeah.
Who's that?
Yeah, there's no Rasputin here, and like almost like the entire second half, I guess, is somewhat different than what the original movie was. So
Mhm.
like you get you almost basically have a brand new story. And what they do in that story is impressive. Like I
Oh
love
yeah.
how, not to get all the way into it, but like how the songs. Let's start with that. Let's start there. The songs
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
are
yeah.
amazing. Like the songs are amazing. Bright spots through this was like I'm hearing songs that I'm just like genuinely enjoy, right?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
there's some obviously, I have my favorites. I really really love, Close the Door. I really love uh oh, what is it? Journey to the Past. I really love that song.
Uh.
There's a couple of other ones that are just really really great. Crossing a Bridge, Land of Yesterday. Like there's
Mhm.
some really awesome songs in here, and like Learn to Do It. I was just like, it feels good to where I don't have to actually. This is one of those things that I really like is I could watch the slime tutorial that we have, or I could have gone and saw this, and yeah, it would have been great. But I can get the full story from the music, and that's something that I
Oh
always
yeah.
always appreciate. Yeah.
Oh yes. I have such heavy biases towards musicals that are mostly if not entirely sung through just
Mm.
because they make the musical significantly more accessible
Yeah.
and everything because like you don't have to pay 10 to hundreds of dollars to go see a production of this, whether it's at your local like theater or on Broadway if it's not like if the book's not released yet from Broadway and
Mhm.
everything. So having musicals like these is like so important because you get to enjoy a musical even though you haven't actually seen the damn thing.
Yes. Mhm. Yes. You can imagine my shock. I did not know that Hamilton was sung through. So like
Oh
you can
yeah.
imagine my shock when I saw it. I was like, oh, they don't talk at all. Oh Jesus.
Oh.
Like, yeah. So yeah, just getting that. Oh, just so refreshing. Like
Mhm.
that to me, I think what helps my appreciation of this musical in particular is that based off of the ones that we've been listening to, it is nice. This one is the most refreshing as it's like finally we're back to where we belong.
Definitely.
We're
We
back to where
found
we
the
belong.
plot finally.
We found the plot and everything and it works and it is, yes, it is still technically a Disney uh musical or Broadway version of a Disney
Yeah.
movie.
Disney has
They do
nothing to
so
do with
much.
it though.
Yeah, they it's like it's probably one of the weaker Disney movies and it's probably one of the better Broadway musicals.
Oh yeah.
I think that's how I would put it. Yeah.
Mhm.
So uh let's touch on a couple of notable things here. So your cast,
Ugh.
Anastasia was played by Christy Altomare in the original version. Well, I don't. That name doesn't sound familiar to me, but she was in a couple of things. Like she was in Spring Awakening. She played Wendla
Okay.
in the national tour. She was Sophie in Mamma Mia. So she's had other roles where she's been pretty good. I think she's mostly been a musical artist. She's got a couple of EPs out, but yeah, she came in doing She came in doing musical theater, and that's where
Mhm.
she really found her stride. But her name didn't stand out to me. But yeah, she is a pretty astonished, well known
Yeah.
Broadway performer. Dimitri was played by Derek Klena. I hope I'm saying that right. Klena or Klena. I think it's probably Klena.
One of those two.
Yeah. Yeah, Derek Klena, he's been in a bunch of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been in plenty of stuff. His most recent stuff, he was in Jagged Little Pill, which is it is the what is her name? Oh God, I'm gonna forget her name. Alanis Morissette. It's the Alanis
Ah.
Morissette based musical. Yeah. So he was recently in that. He was also in the Bridges of Madison County. Um, he most recently got to play Christian in Moulin Rouge.
Ooh.
So
Good for
he
him.
yeah. So he's had some really good roles. He's also been in television. He's on Pretty Little Liars. So if anyone knows, yeah. So, and I will say, I love the male voices
Oh
in this
yeah.
show.
Mm-hmm.
They get really great opportunities to shine
Mm,
in this show.
definitely.
And John Bolton played Vlad. John Bolton, I know his name and I know his face, but he's one of those guys where you're like, oh, like
Yeah,
you see
yeah.
him, you go, oh yeah, that guy, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah, they had a really stacked cast for this musical, and it really works to their favor and everything because these like actors truly like embody these roles and everything. Like, I can't imagine anybody else as Anastasia other than Christy. Like,
yeah,
she pulls off the like amnesia so well, and just like the lostness of her in of Anya in the beginning, and then later in the end when she's like finally like, I am Anastasia, Grand Duchess of Russia and everything. Ah, it's wonderful. She's great.
yeah. I'm a big fan. Crazily though, was I mean it was well received. It did get nominations in a lot of places. Uh, but the big one, the Tonys, it only scored two nominations for the Tonys
Yeah,
and
which is a
didn't win either one.
shame. Yeah.
Right, which it is kind of a shame because it's
Mhm.
like I mean, but then again, it was 2017. I think that was
Yeah.
the year of Dear Evan Hansen, was it? Something
No,
like
I think
that.
that was
No,
16. I think that was the year of Be More Chill though.
Mm, I don't know. I don't know. Something had to have dominated
Oh
to
yeah.
where this didn't receive much. But yeah, I really loved this. Production design I think was really again well done. Choreography was really well done. Um,
It was Dear Evan Hansen's year.
oh, was there?
It
Yeah, see,
was
that's
Dear
what I'm
Evan
like. Yes,
Hansen.
something had to dominate the way
Mhm.
to where this had to be left in the dark. But yeah, to me, it was outstanding musically, and I think you mentioned the composition. To me, it's like what worked really well. Again, you have Christy Altomare, whose voice is astonishing and fits so well. She has kind of a French sound to her voice, so it really
Timbre,
kind of
yeah.
brought that character out. You all like I said, I felt like the writing and the vocals for the men just perfect. Like
Oh
they
yeah.
had these very deep belly voices that like just accentuated a lot of their lines. And they're both playing Russians or what I'm saying. So it's like very strong voices that I just really dug.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. Well, those are the things that stood out to me. Like
Yeah.
musically, I think it's really impressive.
I
And
think it
Once Upon
as
a December. Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
No, 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 go ahead. I agree. Once Upon a December is great.
Yeah, like I didn't know that was the kind of like main song
Mhm.
of this play. So like, um, I was like, I remember when I read it, I was like, oh, that's such a weird title. It's probably got to be like a standout song. So
Mhm.
Once Upon a December, it's just so random, but yeah, and it's very small. It's not even like a big song. I think it's only like a minute or so long.
Yeah.
It's a relatively
It's a
short
little
song.
it's a lullaby, I think, functionally in the
Yeah,
play. So,
yeah, it's a lullaby. So like, but it's so good. Like very well
yeah.
written, very sweet. It really has some great imagery in it. And when they sing it, you're like, dude, like you would have known that this was the you know big ballad of the musical instantly. Like
Yeah.
there's no way to avoid it. So like
Mhm.
yeah, but I love that song. It's amazing.
Yeah. The stage production of this musical also is absolutely amazing. I watched the slime tutorial for this, and oh my gosh, it's like the costuming is gorgeous. I don't know how, once
Oh
again,
yeah,
I don't know how accurate it is to like the actual like 20th century like, communist Russia or post World
right.
War 1 Russia and or pre-World War One. Sorry, not post. Pre-World War One. Russia and everything. So I don't know how accurate the costuming is, but regardless, it's gorgeous. Anya, like, and just oh my gosh, the sequence of the prologue of Once Upon a December, that first song, is amazing
Yeah.
because they starts out as like this big old dance in, the czar's palace and everything. And everybody's
Mhm.
all dancing and shit, and then they Anya and the little kitties get put to bed and everything, and Grandma has to go, and that's why she doesn't get killed because she left. And then boom, boom, boom,
Right,
boom, boom,
right.
everybody's dying, and like the effects are awesome, and like they show how Anya got out of like yeah she just was lucky and didn't get
Right,
caught during the whole thing, and but hit her head real hard, so she don't remember
right.
anything, and
Yeah, to me,
it's
like,
great.
yeah, what kind of shocked me, and I think what why it all works so well together is like it's very heavy. Like to me, I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I was like, whoa, like this is heavy stuff. Because I mean, you're
Mm-hmm.
not just talking about this like her family gets executed. Like
Yeah.
it's not a joke. Her whole family gets murdered, and like a country is taken over, and you know what I'm saying, like people are starving. It's a very you know communist world. It is a stranglehold that these people have on this world that is you know terrorizing their lives now, and like it's such a heavy story. And then she finds like she's she's actually the princess, or
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the princess, right? And what's interesting to me is in towards the end she can return to that life. She
Yeah.
absolutely can return to that life, and she chooses not to. And I think it's a very poignant, or yeah, it's a very poignant choice, because it's like you could have had you could have returned to your status and everything and had the life that you have lost. But you've lived this life for so long. Now you're like, well, this is who I am. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And you found love in that life, so you can return to that, because the standards of high society wouldn't allow you to marry who you would
Right.
prefer to marry. So I loved it. I thought, like, it's interesting too, because listening to the music, like I said, like the music really does help carry the story. But like I had to watch the tutorial, because I was like, between the second to last song and the last song, it goes so quickly
It
into the
does.
finish that
Yeah.
I was like, wait, something had to have happened here.
Mm-hmm.
Like where, the decision was made, because it's like at one point you have, I think it's Gleb, who's like pointing a gun at her
Yeah.
and like threatening to kill her, and then next thing you know, it's the grandmother saying Anastasia is just a myth and she's gone. And I was like, wait,
Mm-hmm.
what happened? Like I
Yeah.
was like, so I had to go in and listen to it and see exactly what the choices that were made. And I get it, but it does kind of in both the music and in the stage, it does kind of feel a little rushed towards the end. That's
Fair.
probably like
Yeah.
my only critique, but like but the music's so good, man. Like
Oh
like
yeah.
it's so good. So like I'll forgive the rushed ending for just the fact that you got to cram in a bunch of songs and you weren't letting none of them go. So I get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. It's awesome. I love how dynamic the musical is and how it slips through all of these themes of like obviously murder and amnesia and communist Russia and everything
Right.
so seamlessly and everything, while still pointing out how heavy and like deep these topics go and everything. Especially back in 2017, back when people were like, maybe capitalism isn't working anymore in the at least in the U.S. I mean, obviously that's still happening, but like less so now because more people are like, oh yes, capitalism is not working now. um, let's no more capitalism, please. But it's 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 it does it. Oh my god, it it goes through all of these themes wonderfully while still like like spelling like telling you a story about these characters and finding love despite, all of the hardships that were faced and everything, and being like, you know what? Like you said, I could go back. I could go back to this high society and everything where I belong, but like, do I truly belong there anymore? It's been
Right.
years since I had any place there, and that high society is gone functionally. Because it would be a
Right.
long
Yeah.
fight to try and take back, communist Russia
Right.
at that point in time, because they had it, they had it, they foot on their neck at that point. So
What's
it's
interesting?
mm-hmm. No, go
No,
ahead.
sorry. What's interesting to me is I was looking at the critical response, and it was mostly positive, but there was some mixed to positive, I would say, in there because there were some people who really liked it but felt it was too long. You know what I'm saying? And maybe too much music. Was like okay, like especially like in the first half was like feels like it was taking too long to get to Paris and to get to this
Right.
her her second life or whatever. And I was like, I guess, but I'm like at the same time I'm like, to me that's not what hurt. I mean like that doesn't bother me as much because I'm like we're getting to see her in her new life
Yeah.
and what she's going through and how she adapts to that. But I mean, like I said, I only listen to the music and like watch like the tail end of the show. So maybe if I sat through it, it would feel longer. Plus we have the book, so maybe
Mm-hmm.
it would feel longer, but I don't know. It worked out for me. But yeah, that
Yeah,
was
I
some of the
agree.
complaints was that it was a little drawn out.
Yeah. I I guess the first act is kind of drawn out, but honestly, if you let yourself get immersed in the music, you don't even notice it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how I feel about it.
All right. So let's go ahead and wrap it up. What are we giving? What is your final rating for
I'm giving
Anastasia?
it an A for Anastasia.
Yeah, buddy. I'm gonna ride that eight with you, man. I'm gonna ride
Yeah.
that eight. Like I said, this has been my favorite so far of the ones we've done. Really, really enjoyed it. Probably am gonna revisit definitely the music.
Oh yeah.
Well, like I have a musical playlist on my phone that is already up to about 200 and something tracks, and it's about to get 20 more because I'm adding
Mhm.
Anastasia to that. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's been my goal for this entire show is to find more songs that I can add to that playlist,
Mhm.
and yeah, it's growing. It's growing. So
Yeah,
I'm
I
really
feel that.
really excited. Loved it. All right,
Well,
two A's for Anastasia.
yep.
Let's move on to our other A
Yeah.
musical.
The sun'll come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun. Just thinking about tomorrow clears away the cobwebs and the sorrow till there's none. When I'm stuck with a day that's gray and lonely, I just stick out my chin and grin and say, oh, the sun.
That we had a chance to check out the
The
classic, the
the other, let's go to
bona
the,
fide clap.
yeah, on the other side of the world at roughly the same time. Roughly the same time period. A little bit later, but
Maybe a little later.
a little
Yeah.
later. But other side of the world now. you know,
Absolutely.
Post depression, or yeah, depression 1930s US with
Yeah.
Annie.
Annie, the sun'll come out tomorrow. So I don't know the lyrics.
I
Anyway.
don't know. It's the hard knock life for us.
It is a
Yeah.
shame that the
Everyone
only
knows
reason I know
Annie.
only reason I know that song is because of Jay-Z. How sad is that?
Yeah.
But this was actually my first time listening to the soundtrack of Annie all the way through.
Yeah.
And two things came to mind. One, I completely see how this became such a huge hit.
Oh,
Completely
definitely.
see it. And two, I completely see why it drives people batshit crazy now.
Yeah.
I completely see why people are sick of it. Why they are like, oh my god, shut up. Totally
Yeah.
get it. Cause I mean, great
Yeah.
music, great
Mhm.
concept.
Yeah.
It's a little cheeky, it's a little cheeky,
A little.
but oh, okay, yeah, it's really cheeky. It's really cheeky.
They really
I'm
get
not
into
gonna
it
lie.
at are we gonna ignore the Hooverville song? A little cheeky. A little. They said fuck Herbert Hubert. Herbert Hubert. In this musical. I don't think that's a little cheeky.
Oh man, yeah, oh yeah, okay, that's fair. Yeah, they go a little bit over.
I mean, I don't blame them.
Oh man,
Hoover does fucking suck. So, like, I
yes,
completely agree.
completely understand. uh, so Annie was is a musical written by Charles Strauss, lyrics by Martin Charnin, book by Thomas Meehan. It is based on the 1924 comic strip Little Orphan Annie by Harold Gray. Huh. And the original Broadway production opened in 1977 and ran for nearly 6 years, setting a record
Mhm.
for the Alvin Theater, which is now the Neil Simon Theater. It spawned numerous productions in many countries, as well as national tours, and won seven, yes, count them, seven
Oh,
Tony
wow.
Awards.
Goddamn, goddamn, goddamn. And it's got
Seven Tony.
what it's got one, two, I think. It has two movie adaptations now. Or am I no, that's Matilda I'm
Two.
thinking of. But
No, I actually think Anna has two as well. Yeah,
oh, yeah, you're
because there
right,
was
you're
a
right.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's got two movie adaptations now. Yeah.
Yeah, they had there was one in the '90s, and then the most recent one I think was in
Yeah, 20
2014, something like that.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Mhm.
So yeah, uh,
It makes
so it just
sense. The
yeah,
tagline of a new musical for this musical really fits for that time period. Just because it's so vastly different to everything that's coming out back then cuz like that's the 70s, so it's like you've got Rent's the 80s. You've got
Rent's
Hairspray.
the '80s.
I
I
want to
think
say
so.
Phantom, but I feel that that's
It
also
would have been
wrong.
around that time, or Phantom may have been '80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like just
You
in
know,
general, the musical scene back then was very traditionalist, and
yeah.
this musical kind of sort of reset the traditions up until we get to like, more modern musicals from like when Hamilton kind of sort of reset musicals once again, not to be like,
Again, yeah.
yeah, like this kind of sort of set the standard of what to expect from musicals all the way up until basically now, functionally.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so I see why it got that much recognition, but also, wow, it's Annie. How it it's truly dated. Um,
Oh yes.
I think that this musical is pretty good. However, it's got its downsides. In the Broadway recording that we have, which is the original one, which is very funny because it's dated as 1972, even though it did not come out on Broadway
It's
until 77. Very
right.
funny. Thank you,
It's
Spotify.
very yeah.
But while I understand that Annie is a child and they used child actors,
Right.
wow, is her voice really annoying.
Yeah.
Um, she's a great singer, and I would
Right.
love. I don't know if she was in anything else post Annie, to know if her voice ever developed to anything better than that. Um, but if it didn't, yeah, Annie, she's Annie. I feel like she kind of sort of functioned as like mid-century Shirley Temple
Oh
almost.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like a new little white blonde girl that everybody could fawn over and everything, and she can sing just like and sing and dance just like Shirley Temple and everything, um, and also can criticize Herbert Hoover.
yeah. So it was Andrea McArdle who did the original voice for Annie. She was in a bunch of stuff. She
Okay,
eventually was in Jerry's Girls, Annie Get Your Gun, Wizard of Oz, Starlight Express, Meet Me in St. Louis, Les Mis, Oliver, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, Beauty and the Beast. She was also in Cabaret and Gypsy. So she's been in a couple of
right. So
things.
her voice developed to be less annoying.
I'm sure, but I mean,
Yeah.
like, yeah, she was a kid. She was a kid, and they really wanted her to sing young.
Oh yeah.
Because I think was Annie supposed to be what 9, 10 years old? I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
Young, single digits. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So like she she I mean in 90 in 77 she was a very little girl.
Yeah.
You know, she had the smile, the hair, it all works. Uh but yeah, you're not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, I think if it weren't for the fact that these songs were so catchy, right?
Yeah.
It might have gotten noticeable to people. And like I
Mm-hmm.
said, as it's played throughout the years, I and even when I heard it, but I get it,
Yeah.
because it's like
It's a good
it's
musical. I can't sit here and lie and say it's not a good musical because it is.
right,
It does its thing. I like the storyline through it. I of course me not liking the government too much. I like the critique on the government and everything. I think that its plot's really fun and silly. I think one of my notes was like, "Oh my god, how old and decrepit and sad do you have to be jealous of an 8-year-old for, getting out of a situation for you?" But like, I mean, I also get it cuz like it's the Great Depression. Everyone's
yeah,
sad. And this rich man's
yeah,
coming to like take this girl
save
and make her rich and everything, and
right,
I would want a piece of that. I'm not gonna go to the
yeah,
lengths that these bitches did, but I would want a piece of that. I'd be like, man, I want to be a little girl. Be
right,
a little
right,
girl in this orphanage. Damn, me too. So,
and like I don't know if you've heard of this show, and you can't even watch it now because they took it off. But on Disney Plus, there was a show called Encore, and it was basically they went to they went to high schools where
mhm.
they performed a musical, and they got the cast back together to redo their musical again. And one of the episodes they did Annie, and like I was watching it recently, or I was watching somebody watch it, and they pointed out something about Miss Hannigan that I was like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Is that Miss Hannigan? You could tell at one point in time in her life she was she was sexy. You know what I'm saying? She was sexy. She had it. She had
Yeah.
the life, and she missed it, and she wanted it, and that's what she was so angry about, was like she lost an identity, a part of
Mhm.
herself, and now she's watching these little girls, you know, and it's like this isn't the life she wanted. This isn't the life she
Right.
wanted. It's something she, horribly, horribly regrets and doesn't like about her life, and so she's, she that's why she lashed out at the kids and Annie in particular. Annie kind
Mm.
of reminded her of her younger self. So like I was like, that makes a lot of sense
Yeah.
for
That.
that character. Like, and
Mhm.
I love the character of Miss Hannigan. I think she's one of my favorite characters in this whole play. Yeah, I know, right? Because she's to me she is a horrible person technically, but I never think of her that way. I always think of her as just bitter and but funnily bitter. I don't know,
That's fair.
like
That's fair. She is pretty goofy. Yeah.
yeah, like
but
she's yeah. I get more goof from her.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I mean like the music's pretty solid. I mean, it's Annie. I know you're gonna keep hearing us say it. It's Annie. I mean like it
It didn't win 7 Tonys for nothing.
it
Like,
won 7 Tonys for a reason. I mean like
yeah,
Hard Knock Life is a thing that's been sampled, interpolated, and like remixed and redone over and over again because it's a good solid song. Tomorrow I feel restructured most ballads
yes,
and everything. It's established the I Want song in musicals. Like we
yes.
kind of had those. And like The Wizard of Oz and The Wiz and Sound of Music. We kind of had I Want songs, but like this was a solid I Want song.
Yeah. The
um
thing about it, like, yeah, you have Hard Knock Life and Tomorrow. Those are big songs. And Little Girls is kind of a big song. It's obviously
mhm.
not a standout one, but that's also a pretty big song. But those are really it. Like no
Yeah.
offense to the rest of the soundtrack. There are definitely good songs throughout it, but like that's really it. Like
Mhm.
I don't need anything but you is great, you know what I'm saying? Something was missing is fine. You won't be an orphan for long is fine. Easy Street is great,
Yeah.
but they're not big songs. They're what I would call story songs.
Oh
So
yeah.
like they carry the story, not so much that they're bigger than the story. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
So like, and I think that's part of the reason why, yeah, it's endured because it's had those big big songs, but also it's why part of the reason why it's kind of treated like that now is because what else do you got? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I completely agree. It kind of sort of it does fall flat outside of those like songs and everything. It's still a good musical, but like it's definitely like, oh man, you had these three really good songs and like I wish the rest of the musical, like the music in this was like that strong because it's not necessarily weak like some other
right.
musicals where like it's like, man, this one song really carried this musical and nothing else.
And nothing else,
Dear Evan
yeah.
Hansen.
uh, uh,
But we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get there. I have I
fun
have
home,
I
fun
have
home.
I have
Ooh,
words
excuse me.
for Dear Evan Hansen. I didn't hear that. But I
Oh,
have words for Dear Evan.
we'll get there.
We'll get there. But they definitely kind of sort of pull it down for me in a like as a modern person that lives in almost 2024, which is crazy to say. Holy shit. Um but yeah, like I can see why I got 7 Tonys back then though. I feel like now unless there was like a serious like re like re rewriting of the music, I don't think it would win as nearly as many Tonys.
No.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
not without a not without a
Not
rewrite.
unless it's got some serious reworking. I think it has the potential to get that many Tonys again.
Yeah.
Needs a lot of
Needs
reworking
this.
though.
Yeah. Well, I think for Annie, it's the one musical where it's like it's really boosted by those three great songs, but what really carried for a lot of people was its story. I think
Yeah.
its book is what really carried for a lot of people. And I mean, I think number one, setting it in the Great Depression, great
Mhm.
idea because you can do cheeky stuff like talk trash about her
Yeah,
Hoover.
and especially
And
I
so
feel like
like
back in the 70s, most people like those that's their parents back then. That's
right,
and
right,
everything. So like it's not like this distant memory of like, 19th century Russia or like,
right.
18th century France, French Revolution or whatever. Like it's modern history.
Right.
So
And it was literally just in their backyard like not too long
yeah,
ago.
so like like it definitely makes sense why it was so successful and everything because I especially feel that like back then like it was kind of taboo to talk about things like that in musicals or mostly entertainment in general, but especially musicals.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
because like other musicals around the time, like I know Annie Get Your Gun is kind of sort of a bit earlier, but like the closest they get to any sort of like taboo topics is like, oh yeah, is like kind of sort of some feminist topics of like, oh yeah, I'm a woman, I can do things as well as you, I can do things better than you and everything. That's the whole big song for that
Right.
musical. So like I yeah, it's like it makes sense that it was so successful. It did things that were unexpected. And like I said, its music isn't terrible outside of those three songs. It's not
Right.
terrible. It's got some
And
pretty good stuff in there.
yeah, like you hit the nail right on the head. Like you're talking about your 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 grandparents' parents' life. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like this was this is what they grew up in. So like obviously it's gonna resonate with them on a higher level, just because yeah, it's something like um that they know very very well.
Yeah.
It's very close to home to them. So I totally get it. And yeah, I listening to it, I felt transported back to that time, right? Cuz there's little things that they do throughout the musical that really kind of put you in that aspect. Uh one thing that is unique I think to them that I think became a staple for a lot of musicals afterwards is there's a lot of singing while talking
Oh
throughout their
yeah.
songs. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? So like makes it feel very natural, I think, to
Mm-hmm.
people where it's like, yes, we got the big emotions where we're singing, but like we also know like realistically we have to keep this story going, so there's talking throughout it that kind of really is always helping you think about where we are in the story. So I think that works extremely well. One other thing I wanted to point out, this cast phenomenal. Like
Oh
right,
yeah.
the
Mm-hmm.
opening cast. Of course, you had Andrea McArdle. You also had Dorothy Loudon, who I believe won the Tony for playing Miss Hannigan. Uh, you had Reed Shelton, Robert Fitch, Barbara Irwin. You had a pretty stacked cast, and the names of people who have played this role at least up until 2018 is astonishing. Like you have some pretty big names here: Nell Carter, Anna Gasteyer, Leah Salonga,
Oh shit.
Roger Bart, yeah, Karen Byers Blackwell, Megan Hilty. Like what? Like this is David Allen Greer played Daddy Warbucks at some point. So like you're like, wow, like it's some big names who have come through Annie.
Oh
There's
yeah.
no denying that. So like it's a historic production
Mm-hmm.
to say the least.
Oh definitely.
Oh, Jane Lynch played Miss Hannigan. Oh God, I would have killed to
Jane
see
Lynch? Oh
that.
my goodness.
Jane, I would have
That's
killed to see Jane Lynch.
crazy.
That sounds like fun. Oh, I
Oh
would have been
yeah.
so happy with that. That would have been great.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my little heart. I'm jealous of anyone who got to see that show. That's amazing. Oh man. But yeah, so Annie has run forever.
Yeah. Oh.
For literally forever. It's on
Mm-hmm.
its second, maybe third. I think it's on its third revival tour. So like,
Okay.
yeah, Annie's been out there forever and it's
Mm-hmm.
still going strong. Yeah. Wow, what an incredible run for
Yeah.
this show.
Mm-hmm.
But was this your first time going through Annie, or you had listened
Um,
to this one before?
I also already listened to this one before. However, prior to that, I think my only engagement with the musical was the movie adaptation that came out with not Will Smith. What's his name?
Jamie Foxx.
Jamie Foxx. Thank you. With Jamie
Yep.
Foxx. Um, I was like, I know it's a black man. I just can't think of any other black man names except for Will Smith. Shame on me. um, I was already loosely familiar with the musical, but like obviously like that doesn't. I think there's like two songs in that. I think I only have Hard Knock Life and Tomorrow in there. And it's like
Yeah,
modernized, so like obviously there's no mentions to Herbert Hoover or anything like that. Um
right.
so yeah, outside of that I had not interacted with Annie at all, and I think my first listen I was like, wow, this is mid. And now I'm kind of like, still mid. It's still mid, but like slight ever so slightly better than mid. And no offense to the
Yeah,
musical, cuz like it's good, but like
I
compared to
think
modern
I
musicals, it's lacking.
yeah
And my taste
yeah.
definitely tilts is biased towards modern musicals.
So it's
So like
modern.
it
Yeah,
makes sense that I'm not gonna like it as much, but like I'm not gonna sit here and dunk on it and say it's shit because it's not.
yeah. In my mind, like Annie's legendary.
Mhm.
It like I think I said it in the beginning, but I'll say it again. It's got great songs in it, and I do really enjoy its story. It's just that it's probably at that point where it's like it's ran for so long that it's like it's always stuck in your head,
Yeah.
no matter how long you've not listened to it.
Mhm.
If even somebody says the word tomorrow, you're like, shut up, like
Yeah.
get out of my head, because it's like that. So like I've known this musical even though I never listened to it.
Yeah.
I've known it my whole life, so I'm like
Mhm.
I completely get if you're like, just end this thing already. But like,
Right.
but I do
Yeah.
think it is a stellar musical.
Mhm.
I think I would really enjoy seeing it live as opposed to just listening to it
Yeah.
because I think that's the way you get the most enjoyment out of this story.
Agreed.
Is
I
it's yeah, this is one you have to see live.
Yeah, I would also love to see a much more modern musical adaptation of it because like I said earlier, the adaptation we got with Jamie Foxx in it. It's a movie adaptation of it, and like I said, there's like next to no songs from the original. I would love to see
Hmm.
like a musical, true musical adaptation of the musical that's like set in the 90s. Like I want to see them dunking on Reagan and Nixon. and like or like and like or Bush or whoever. Like I'd love to see like an adaptation of Miss Hannigan and everything who like used to be this like amazing like lady in like the 80s and every like 70s or 80s and was like a disco like was really into the disco scene and like
What's the
almost
saying?
popped off to like popped off to the
Right,
heights of like Janet Jackson and Tina not Tina Turner, Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, and
right.
has to deal with these 90s kids who are being little badasses and are sitting around the shelter computer being obnoxious as hell. Emailing people annoyingly and trying to like get things off of LimeWire and all that shit. But you see the potential though. You see
Oh, I
the
see it.
potential
It's
of like
brilliant.
an adaptation of it that's from the 90s. That would
Oh
be
yeah, that would be great. That would be awesome. I would totally pay money for that.
great. Yeah.
Let's stop giving Hollywood free ideas. So
Oh my god, no, we can't. We can't. They'll
yeah,
AI
you gotta
it.
you got you gotta pay us for that. Uh,
Yeah.
so final rating. What are you giving
I'm
Annie?
gonna give it a B.
Mm, I think I'm gonna give it a B plus.
Fair.
Yeah, B
Fair.
plus for
Yeah.
me. Is definitely up there. A fun time. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
uh I like I said, I get it and I get it for that one.
Mm-hmm.
So there you have it. We are wrapped on Annie and Anastasia, but we are not out of the A's just
No,
yet.
we've got two
We
more
got two
A's.
more, and I'm excited to see
Yep.
what they are.
They
We are
are.
talking.
Drum roll, please. Annie, get your gun and Avenue Q.
Ooh wee.
So we've got some
Ooh
interesting
wee.
guys. I don't like Avenue Q. Like
I've
it's
not listened.
okay, but like,
Yeah,
it's
I've
one of
not
it's
listened
dated.
to it. Yeah, I've not listened to it yet. Um, I actually haven't listened to either one of these yet, so I'm very, very excited
Annie Get Your
to
Gun
see
is
how I
fun.
feel about things. I really, they did an episode of that on Encore as well, so I'm very excited to dive into that.
Mm-hmm.
Avenue Q is gonna be an interesting one.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna be an
Everyone's a
interesting
little
one,
bit
so
racist.
I'm looking forward to that.
Gosh.
So we're we're gonna get out of here. Thank you guys for joining us. We are your adjacent theater kids. My name is Phoenix.
I'm Lazuli.
We will see you guys next time on Curtain to Curtain. And
Bye bye.